Supervisors, regular session meeting, July 6, 2021 at 9:05, 1 East Main Street, Grand Courtroom via Zoom. Our notice to the public: the Board of Supervisors welcomes comments from the public during the time allowed for discussion. You are requested to approach the microphone, state your name for the record, and limit the time used to present your remarks in order that others may be given an opportunity to speak. The normal process on any agenda item is for the chairperson to read the item from the agenda. The board is given an opportunity to comment on the issue and/or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate, and a roll call vote will follow. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 9:05. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, call the roll, please.
Thompson.
Present.
Patton.
Present.
Slosik.
Yes.
Item 4 on our agenda this morning is approval or amendment of the agenda. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as printed. Any discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Patton.
Yes.
Slosik.
Yes.
Item 5 on our agenda this morning is the consent agenda. We'll be approving the minutes of our regular session of June 22nd, 2021. We will be approving the claims as audited and authorized by the county auditor and recorder to issue payment of the same. The listing of claims paid at this meeting and all claims paid in the month of July will be published as part of the first meeting in August. Item C is a file Burt Farms construction permit, CP-A 2021-044, Matthew Burt site, Marshall County, facility ID 59927. I'll entertain motions on this construction permit, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the consent agenda as printed.
And I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as printed. Any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson.
Yes.
Patton.
Yes.
Slosik.
Yes.
Item number 6 on our agenda this morning is we are in receipt of the Marshall County ARPA Committee recommendations and approval of the following expenditures to be paid from the American Rescue Plan Act. Item A is a Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center relating to tourism. The committee approved a range of donation anywhere from $10,000 to $250,000 at the Board of Supervisors' discretion for funding part of the renovation of the Arts and Civic Center. There's also, at that time, we suggested going on based on some population, looking at what the city of Marshalltown had done, and the fact that the county is responsible for everything outside of the incorporated area. So we've got a wide range of items to look at here and to discuss. We also have a Modus Election Manager database, which is a database that will manage the election workers, polling location, and equipment usage and tracking. The big benefit of this is the election worker online training options, training schedule for use during the 11/2/21 city school election, and the cost for implementation of this and 3 years of use is $16,380. The committee also approved that 3-year cost in this area. To get this on the board for discussion on both of these items, I'll entertain motions, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve project expenses. Number 1, contribute $10,000 to the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center relating to area tourism. And number 2, a 3-year contract in the amount of $16,380 with Modus Election Manager to be paid from the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA fund. Now, I might say, since I moved the motion, that Parliamentary procedure says I can talk about this a little bit before we get going on here. Reason I said 10,000 is we don't know where we're going on this ARPA deal, and if we can do 10,000 at this point, once we know where we're going on this, we can add to the Civic Center down the road a little bit, but this will at least give a contract approval here for them for their grant.
Okay. We have a second on this to get it on the table for discussion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we vote on either of these two items, I believe we should have some appropriate discussion. Steve, what are your thoughts?
No, this $10,000 would let them qualify for this grant, this $800,000 grant.
Yes, it would. And I believe we need to make the $10,000 commitment without strings. So in other words, we can't say if you don't get the grant, we don't pay it. This will be a donation, plain and simple. Keep in mind that we have 2 sets of funding coming in 2 years in a row on this ARPA funding. And as we get further into this, we can see what things we have that will qualify, things that won't qualify. And we can always add to this later, but I think it's very important that we get a donation up front to this organization so that they can qualify for this grant.
So there's no place in our motion here that we said that this had strings to it, and I agree with you. At this point, there is no strings for the $10,000.
That's correct.
Plain gift at this point. And I think down the road here a little bit, give us a little bit of time so we know where we're at on this. We've got a lot of things in our backyard here we got to get taken care of too, and we need to have that fully understood among all of us. And so give us a little time, and there's a good possibility we can extend this or add to the $10,000. At least that's my thought.
We can always come back and add more later. That is true. I did look at the spreadsheet that the committee provided, and there were some very good suggestions that did qualify. It's not going to take us long to eat up this first $3.8 million. We're pretty much going to eat that up just with some approvals out to the jail facility with the control board that can qualify. That's $1.2 million. We can look at the HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning at the jail facility. That's another $1 million. We're going to go through this first $3.8 million pretty darn quick, and then come back and look at things again. Those are just my thoughts.
I feel strongly that we don't want to put this off to the point of, well, there's just no money left at the end of this, and we can't help anymore. This is one of the gems of Marshalltown, between the courthouse and the Fisher Center. That's a major facility that I guess means a lot to a lot of people. So I guess I'm asking my fellow board members to not just pass this off and kind of forget about it. Hopefully it'll go away. But,
no, I would concur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm listening to Bill's motion was to approve a $10,000 donation to the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center, and also to approve item B, which is the Modus Election Manager, for $16,380. Is that correct, Bill?
This is for the letter of commitment And yes, that would be $26,380. And then down here in D, we have to do that again. And it's confusing because we start out with one motion, but the reason it's one motion is because it's all the ARPA fund. So I guess we agree.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second on the board. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
Can I comment, Dave?
You certainly may.
So right now, there's a lot of things up in the air. You mentioned something important, that no strings could be attached to your grant. The city of Marshalltown's motion, if I'm not mistaken, contributes the $250,000 if they get the grant from CAT. CAT's an annual grant process, and it has multiple application deadlines. July 15th is not necessarily a drop dead date. For this year, there is an additional deadline of October 15th. Now, they only give these CAT grants one to a community per year. Are they going to come back for a second grant next year? So is that additional money that you're going to contribute? The Fisher Community Center sits on ground that they do not own. It's owned by the DOT. The ownership of that ground has not been worked out yet. The mayor has sent a letter to the DOT requesting the city to buy that ground for $44,000. And the intent of the city is to pass that ground on to the Fisher Community Center for $44,000. However, there's some conflict there because they recently sold ground to Hospice House at $26,000 an acre, which would make that ground worth $127,000 if we sell it for market value. So there's a lot still up in the air. I also contacted the Iowa State the state accountant. I can't think of the name right at the moment, but they mentioned something about it's not legal to levy and give to a nonprofit, and I'm still waiting for some replies on that. So there's still a lot up in the air, and I would suggest that you table this until things can get cleared up. Also, nonprofits, once the money goes to the nonprofit, it can get given away. The Fisher Governor Foundation has given $500 to the Marshalltown School District for music. The Fisher Community Center Foundation, which was feeding money into the Fisher Governor Foundation for the operation of this building, gave $10,000 to the school district for the roundhouse. So there's no, unless you've got a good list of what they're spending this money on, some of this money could be actually used to divert other funds to projects like trails. So I wouldn't just jump into this. They have some time, and you have some time to investigate these things. So anyways, those are my comments. I think you should table it.
Okay.
May I offer public comments?
You certainly may.
Jessica Kinzer, City Administrator, City of Marshalltown. I would like to clarify that our resolution that was approved by the city is not contingent upon the CAT grant, but it is worded to be a reimbursement. And I would strongly encourage the county to do the same thing. That was a comment that was made from our auditor after the same time, that it's not a donation, but a reimbursement of actual construction expenses. And so I will clarify too, we are working with the Iowa DOT on the acquiring of the property, and that ultimately there has been a fair market value price determined for that property, and we are able to sell for that price. So, but the one thing I did want to just clarify is we have specifically worded in our resolution, it's a $250,000 reimbursement towards construction expenses.
Okay, thank you.
You changed, Jessica, you changed that then and took off the requirement that you had put on there originally? Is that, am I misunderstanding that? Because it did sound like when you first did that at your meeting that there were some strings attached.
So when it was a discussion item, there was some initial discussion, but ultimately the motion was to reimburse $250,000 to the Fisher Community Center, Marshalltown Arts and Culture Center for the project. So there are no strings attached in what was approved by the City Council at our last meeting on June 28th, which was the formal action.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or discussion?
I may make another.
You certainly may.
I'd like to mention that Jessica is a member of the board of the Fisher Governor Foundation now, or at least she's been invited to be one. She didn't announce that to you. With Karen Gregory and Sharon Greer, and I don't know who the other board members are, but that would maybe sway her decisions. So thank you.
Okay.
And to clarify, I am a member of the Fisher Governor Foundation Board of Trustees, but every piece of information I just provided was in my role as city administrator and what the City Council has approved.
Any other discussion or comments?
Dave, I'm comfortable doing what we're talking about here.
Okay. Are you, Steve?
Yeah, I am. And I just want to make sure everybody realizes that this is federal money. This is not our local tax dollars. I know a lot of it can be used to pay for things that are involved with the county, but these are federal funds, just to be sure, just to be clarified.
That is correct. Okay. Doesn't sound like there's much more discussion here. I just want to reread that we have a motion on the second on the table to approve the project expenditures to contribute $10,000 to the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center relating to area tourism, and 2, a 3-year contract in the amount of $16,380 with Modus Election Manager to be paid for from the American Rescue Plan ARPA funds. Is that correct, gentlemen?
Yeah, now the $16,380 is a one-time payment for a 3-year contract usage.
Yes.
So we're not paying $16,000 every year. We're just paying.
Nope. That's the way I understand it also.
That's what I understood too. I wasn't asking a question. That was my understanding.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Okay. Item C is to approve a commitment letter for $10,000 to the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center relating to tourism. I'll entertain motions on this item, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the commitment letter of $10,000 to the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Item D is to approve the Modus Election Manager contract for election software, worker equipment, precinct database, and online working training for a 3-year commitment for $16,380. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the Modus Election Manager contract for election software, worker equipment, and precinct database for worker online training, 3-year commitment, $16,380.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik.
Yes.
Motion carried. Item 7 on our agenda this morning is to approve a letter of support for the City of Marshalltown's Raised Transportation Grant application. This is for the proposed transportation network improvements to the Highway 14 corridor, project named Porta de Marshalltown, the Highway 14 corridor project. I'll entertain motions on this letter of support, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve letter of support for the City of Marshalltown's Raised Transportation Grant application for proposed transportation network improvements to the Highway 14 corridor, project named Porta de Marshalltown, Highway 14 corridor project.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter of support. Any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yeah.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik.
Yes.
Okay. Item 8 on our agenda this morning is approval of an amendment to our first on-site contract regarding liquidated damages. The board approved the contract at their June 22nd meeting. There will be discussion and action on this. Lucas, are you available to bring us up to speed where we're at on this one, please?
Yeah, I am. So at our last board meeting, you guys approved a contract that we then sent over to our general contractor, First On Site, formerly known as Perfection. They looked it over and had some proposed changes and some requests for us. So Dave and Nan and myself met with them last Thursday, had some discussion on a few different items. Most of them are pretty simple. The main request we got from First On Site was to meet as a group and discuss if there was a possibility for us to decrease the amount of liquidated damages that we put in our contract. So with that, currently, the contract is spelled out that there are 2 different dates for liquidated damages. We have phase 1 and phase 2, and this is just on the interior project for the courthouse. Phase 1 is all of 2nd floor and the east half of 1st floor. So what that does, that allows the attorneys to move back into the building, IT to move into their permanent home, and Nan and myself, who still office in the courthouse, to move to a location to where the rest of the building can then be turned over for construction. With that, and then the phase 2 schedule at this point is the end of the year. It's December 31st. So what we've done is we said we want to put a kind of drop dead date on both of the target schedules that our contractor has given us. They asked us to reduce from $3,000 per calendar day to whatever we could approve. So my thought with that is, I guess my recommendation to the board is phase 1. Well, let me back up just a little bit. Liquidated damages should represent what it costs us per day to have this project ongoing. And I gave you guys a little bit of a spreadsheet here that breaks down a few different things. So when we think about what it costs Marshall County to have this construction going and us to be displaced from the building, it costs us the general conditions. We pay First On Site, which are their salaries, their per diem, their housing, things like that. I also figured in some of our staff's time. I have Nan's time, my staff, and our IT staff. With that, I justified that as our IT staff and my staff is supporting Marshall County workers outside of this building. We are doing work and supplying cleaning supplies and things for other buildings. myself and Nan's time is more directed towards what we're doing to manage this project. So you see kind of some higher numbers there for Nan and myself. What we pay rent at the Great Western Bank, we pay rent at the Max building, we pay rent for storage at the mall, we have utilities at all these things, we have some cleaning fees, and with the delays that we've already had in the project, we are now starting to incur furniture storage space for items that we have bought to move back into the building. Now we can't put it in the building, we have to store it offsite. All of that grand totals up to $3,091.34 a day. That's where I came up with the figure that our liquidated damages are $3,000 a day. When we met with the owner Perfection, he said, "What can you do?" I said, "Well, I already gave you a $91 a day break, so I don't know." What my recommendation is, Phase 1, we don't necessarily incur all of these costs. We incur some of them, but we don't incur all of these costs. So we could reduce the amount of liquidated damages we charge calendar day on Phase 1 pretty substantially. I mean, legitimately, we could probably knock that back to $500,000, and we'd probably still be covering our costs at that point. And I think that would make it easier for First Onsite to continue with this contract. Now, when we talk about Phase 2, which is our move-in date, end of the year, that's where I get a little more hesitant to say, yeah, we can do less on our liquidated damages, because essentially at that point we're saying, okay, we'll pay more to have you be late. And I don't think that's fair on us or the Marshall County taxpayer. This isn't a schedule that anybody with Marshall County came up with. This is First Onsite schedule. I didn't dictate it. What we need is a way to hold them accountable to their schedule. We have had 3 different schedules at this point. Every one of them so far has the end date at November or December 31st, but that Phase 1 date keeps shifting. Initially in February, we got a schedule saying Phase 1 should have been done May 17th or the week of the 17th of May. Well, we missed that by a long shot already. And then May 10th, they gave us another schedule, adding an additional 18 weeks to it. So we had like a 12-week schedule. We were, I don't know, 11 weeks into it, and then they said, oh, we need an additional 18 weeks. And the word accountability keeps coming up in my mind. How, if we don't have some teeth in this contract, how long does this drag out? We need to essentially hold their feet to the fire on this. So what I would say is the $3,000 a day is a good number. If you guys are comfortable reducing that number, that's most definitely your prerogative. You approve all contracts, but in my recommendation, it's going to be to stay at or close to that $3,000 a day figure.
You said there's a possibility in your mind that you could lower Phase 1.
Yes.
Did I misunderstand here? What did you say that would be then at Phase 1? Did you see that?
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it about any way, honestly. I would still be comfortable in the Phase 1 liquidated damages going to $500 a day, $750 a day.
Okay.
I think we're going to cover our costs there. What we really have to worry about, and when we start thinking about that December 31st date, is currently we are using our business income extra expense dollars to house people outside of the courthouse. And Nan and I need to run the numbers on that, but we're going to be real close to button up and those dollars drying up. It's only $500,000. That's all the insurance funds that we can use on that. So at some point, we're going to be paying out of our pocket for people to be displaced out of this building.
That was the consensus of the meeting we had between Lucas and Nan and I Thursday when we were on the phone with David Heitman with First On Site. Without question, we made it perfectly clear that phase one, there was a little possible give and take, but phase two, because we're going to be bumping up against our insurance limits, that we were pretty much told them at that point, I didn't think there'd be any adjustments. But this is something we need to discuss as a board. I agree with Lucas. We really need to hold the feet to the fire, especially for phase two.
Yeah. Now, with all that being said, it's not that December 31st day can't shift. If there are legitimate reasons that are uncontrollable, that date can be extended. And honestly, it probably does extend. But at this point, what we need from them is First On Site to come to us with the justification to extend that date. They've already tried, on Thursday, they tried to come to us with the justification to extend it. That was not acceptable. They wanted to, we've had a workable solution for some of the structural steel for 3 months now. They chose to change that and come up with a different solution to it, and then tried to come back to us and say, we need to add time because we chose an elected change to the contract drawings. And I said, whoa, time out. That's not going to be how this works. Now, if that was something that I came to them and said, hey, we need to change this because of X, Y, Z. Now I extended the time, on our end, and that's something that we can push that date back on. Or say the supplier is 12 weeks out instead of 4 weeks out. Oh, hey, all right, these are legitimate reasons. Now, can we fill the gaps? We don't necessarily have to extend 8 weeks out, but we may need to extend 2 weeks because we're losing stuff here and there. We need that documentation, that representation to move that end date.
Well, I know
we can always move that ourselves at a later date also.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Bill.
that's fine. I was just going to talk about rationale a little bit.
Yeah.
I understand in an old building, when you start tearing things apart, you find things that are old that has nothing to do with the original damage.
Certainly.
And we got to give them time for that.
Yep.
Okay, that I understand. That I think we have been very good about.
Yes.
Okay, there's been many, many days, nothing has been done here. From sweeping the floor to doing work, nothing has been done. That's their fault, not our fault.
Agreed.
And I'm with you. We'll see what, I just say go into this meeting, when's this meeting coming up? Or it isn't.
No, it isn't.
All it is your meeting.
Yeah, we had a meeting last Thursday. We were asked to have this conversation and then go back and say, this is our bottom dollar. Now let's be completely honest with each other. There's a possibility they say that's a no-go. So that's probably a conversation we have to have as well. If they say that's a no-go, then either we need to be prepared to hold strong on this or move to a different general contractor.
Phase one.
Yes.
When did that start?
Phase one started when the interior project started, January.
Okay, no, I mean the $500 a day.
Oh, it starts September 21st. Which is 18 weeks from May 18th.
Yeah.
That's when they had added the additional. So when we had our meeting and David and Kevin were both here and we said, approved go, that's when that 18 weeks started.
Okay. I guess that's something that if you think it's workable, that could be a change. Other than that, I don't think so.
I would caution you guys not to take too many teeth out of phase one, not just because I'm greedy and
Yeah.
in phase one, but because the IT infrastructure is getting beat up worse and worse. Mistakes are being made every week, causing more and more
Problem.
fragileness to the system.
Even since the discussion that we had there about a month ago.
Oh, God, yes,
What was it?
absolutely.
Oh, really? I thought
Last-
we had that taken care of.
Last
No.
Tuesday, they unplugged the power strip for the internet.
And mandated,
Yeah,
considering they've missed, in my opinion, almost every significant deadline they've been given for the last 3 years. Just don't take too many teeth out of phase one, because there's hard costs and then there's also the soft costs. We haven't been able to hire replacement GIS staff because we don't have offices, replacement IT staff. The infrastructure keeps getting worse and worse. I've had to send my staff home. They're working remotely because there's no running water. And I understand we're in a construction site, but after this amount of time, we should have our legs under us. We should have some progress.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I understand flexibility, but just not too much. I don't know what that number is, but
If we hold rigid on this, is that sending us a message that?
it's sending the message I would like to send.
I see.
Gentlemen,
Well,
when we had this this Zoom conference last Thursday, I pretty much expressed my opinion that that's the direction I wanted to go, was to continue holding feet to the fire. I'm very exasperated with the delays that have been on this project, and my opinion on this, I can't speak for all three of us in a meeting like that, which is why I asked Lucas to get this on the agenda this morning. But my personal opinion, we need to keep holding the feet to the fire. Now, if they come up with a legitimate reason, whether it's material shortages that can't be produced on time or something else, and they're doing good faith work to get everything done in the meantime, we can always make exceptions on liquidated damages. But I think we need to send the message here. This is it. You need to stick to it.
Well, there wasn't much being done even before all these problems arose and throughout the nation of the things not being able to get. That's just been what, the last 8 to 10 months.
Yeah.
Everything before that, they had plenty of opportunity
Yes.
to get their rear
I
end
agree.
gear.
So what I will, a bit more information for you. So when we presented them with the contract with liquidated damages in it, I saw a big shift, and this kind of goes to James's point. I saw a big shift from concentrating and getting phase one done to, oh boy, we need to get this whole project done. And that's something that I would like to discourage. So when we were given our schedule, our most recent schedule, which shows September 21st and December 31st, there was no caveat to James needs to move out of the building. Nan and Lucas need to move out of the building. We need to clear the third floor so we can continue demolition. And when we gave them the contract with liquidated damages in it, now they came to me and said, we need to move all these people out so we can advance the schedule. And I said, well, I'm sorry, time out on that, because we need to finish phase one, because that has always been the plan. We aren't trying to focus on the end project. We need to focus on the here and now. And when you're working on phase one, and there's filler work other places. We can find work on third floor and fourth floor and fifth floor on the east half of the building. There's work to be done there. But I'm not going to turn the entire building over to you because now you have liquidated damages in your contract, because that was never stipulated when the schedule was given.
Yeah. I guess looking back, it'd have been nice to have liquidated damages from the very beginning.
It would have been, I typically am not a big fan of liquidated damages. They tend to change the focus of a contractor on their own interests rather than the customer's interest. But in this instance, I feel like we need that in place because there's already been too much focus on their own interest rather than ours.
I
I
know
agree.
DOT uses it constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not a big proponent for it because it does slow things up sometimes because now you have to have kind of that thing in the side of your head where you're keeping track of potential lost time because of things. But in this instance, I want to know, why did you lose time? Give me that documentation for why you lost time. Rather than, we just need more time. Why? Give it to me.
Okay, so we've had some pretty good discussion here this morning. I'll entertain motions on any possible amendment to the first on-site contract. Anywhere from leaving it alone to changing phase one and reducing that, or leaving it the same.
I would make the motion to leave it the same.
For phase one and two.
Phase one at this point.
What's
Do we
your
have a
thought?
second?
Just a second. What's your?
Don't we have time to discuss or make decisions on phase two down the road?
Yeah, absolutely, we do, and we have the ability to move that end date as well. Even on phase one, we have the ability to move that end date.
You're wanting to do something now with phase two?
I'm just asking. Yeah, I'm just asking.
Okay. That was my thought process.
Okay. I'll second it then.
I kind of like that motion and second that you just made because it gives us the ability to have the teeth in the situation and the flexibility for us to shift dates later if there's an extremely good reason. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to leave our liquidated damages for phase one and phase two the same. No further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 9 on our agenda this morning is approval of the band shell rental, MPFI Spiritual Center Community Festival at Riverside Park, August 20 to the 22nd, 2021, with setup dates being August 19th through August 23rd, 2021. The fee has been paid and it was $450. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Before we get into it, Sherry, did we get a copy of the insurance with her name on it?
The insurance is coming, but I have the check.
Okay. That's contingent.
Yes.
That doesn't happen, this will be null and void.
Right.
With that said, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the band shell rental, NPFI Spiritual Center Community Festival at Riverside Park, August 20 to 22nd, 2021. Setup dates August 19th and August 23rd, 2021. Paid fee of $450.
And I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 10 on our agenda this morning is the approval of the lease addendum with Iowa Valley Community College for use of the Orpheum Theater, 220 East Main Street, Marshalltown, Iowa, for provisions of county court services through 12/31 of 2021. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
With that said, Mr. Chairman, can we take a 10-minute recess?
We sure can.
Time out, whatever we want to call it. All right, thank you. Discussion will there be? None.
We're almost done here.
10 minutes.
Okay. No, I'm not. Okay. This is your. Which one? Well, pardon me? Yep. This is just gonna be a short break. Boy, it sure looks like the weather's gonna change here, doesn't it? Shush. Quiet. Go to bed. Gotcha. Come on. Are we ready?
Yep. We are.
Okay. If we're all set, let's come back out of recess here.
Item number 10.
We have a motion and a second on the table to approve the lease addendum for Iowa Valley Community College. Any further discussion?
I don't think we have a motion yet. No one
Okay.
approved.
I'm sorry. I will entertain motions.
You want to do that one?
Is there a dollar figure here that we're needing to be working with, or?
This is just an extension of our current lease with them to get us through the end of the year.
I'd make a motion then to approve the lease addendum with IVCCD for use of the Orpheum Theater, 220 East Main Street, Marshalltown, Iowa, for provisions of county court services through 12/31/2021.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Okay. Item number 11, if there's any change. Bill, do you want to leave this tabled?
The only thing we need to do is change the date because we tabled it until today. We need to change that date to 7/20, which would be our next meeting. Do we do that with a motion or can we just do that?
Procedurally wise, I don't even know if we have to, because technically to me, it remains on the table until you remove it.
But we're not going to do anything.
But we can sure change the date. It's totally up to you.
I don't know parliamentary correct. I've never done that little part before, but let's just do it real quick here. Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the date on item number 11 to 7/20/21.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second just to change the date and for the item to remain tabled until our next meeting. Any further discussion?
No.
There being none, roll call vote, please.
One more time, I think you missed it.
Thompson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Okay. Item 12 has also been tabled. Do we need to leave that where it is also?
Yeah, that one's going to stay tabled until we have a new contract, which will be several months from now, probably.
Okay, sounds good. That being said, we're on to item number 13 on our agenda this morning, which is public forum. This is a time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in the public forum. From the sounds of it, we have no public comment. So we'll move on to item number 14, which is an adjournment. The next regular session is July 20th, 2021 at 9:05 a.m. All business to be acted upon that session should be submitted to the County Auditor Recorder's Office or the Board of Supervisors Office by Wednesday, July 14th, 2021 at 12 p.m. There being no further business to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned at 10:01 a.m. Thank you, everyone.